Okay, so throughout history, there have been a couple different litmus tests in art that artists use to kind of gauge where they stand at certain skill levels. One of which would be, for drawing, it would probably be like portrait drawing or different angles of portraits. So portraits front facing, like this one. Ooh, okay, like this one, or maybe you want to go one level higher. It would be portraits of like faces looking down or looking up. I'm not really good at the one looking down, but the one looking up, I'm slowly getting better at. Like that. That's not bad. Not too bad, right? One of the best litmus tests, and one of the oldest ones, is drawing a drapery.
Hey Gino, you going dumb. Woof.
Drawings of drapery or even sculptures of drapery, this is also a great test for any sculptors out there, is honestly for me, one of the most challenging things to figure out how to draw. Drawing it, I'm still not great at it, but as a sculptor, a lot of my recent sculptures have involved like a lot of cloth, and figuring out how to make sculptures of it is kind of helping me understand how to draw them better as well. So that's what this video is going to be about. Now, why is it so challenging? In order to do it properly, you need to have an incredible understanding of tone, because if you don't, then the thing can very easily turn into a blob. You also need to have a great understanding of composition as well as flow and direction. So which direction the cloth is moving, how it's flowing together, and how to use your tonal values in order to demonstrate that. For sculpture, it's going to be a little bit different. How do I make the material that is like clay and fairly dense turn into something that's flowy or something that sits on an object? For example, clothing on a person. How do I manipulate the clay to represent that form? Now, there's two things you can do for sculptures. You can either add clay or you can remove clay. There's various tools for that. And for drawing, it essentially comes down to how good your outline is and then how good your shading is going to be. Let me show you. Okay, this is one of the sculptures that I've made recently. At least it's a piece of it. You can actually see the full sculpture on my channel. I made a video about it and the inspiration behind this whole thing. So be sure to go check that one out. It's probably gonna pop right here or right there. But as you can see, there is a bit of clothing here incorporated that I kind of had to figure out how to do. And again, each piece of drapery, you have to determine where the origin point of that drapery is. And for this one, it's gonna be two. I put it on the sides, and all the folds and creases kind of start there. And where it starts is going to be where the most contrast is going to be, both in terms of volume of folds and also in terms of contrast. So in sculpture terms, that would be how deep the creases go. So it starts at the sides. That's where I'm gonna have the most creases and also the biggest amount of depth in between my creases. And everything else kind of flows from there. So they come down and drape over. The less interaction the drapery has with an object, the less it's gonna fold. That's pretty much basic things. So if you imagine taking your shirt off and just like laying it flat somewhere, it's gonna be way more flat than you actually wearing it and it being manipulated by your body. Same thing with the back. Now you have to keep in mind that focus, there you go. Now you have to keep in mind that folds oftentimes interact with each other. So as you can see with this fold, it comes down, but it also kind of splits up and then goes all the way back and creates its own fold. And it also interacts with these as well. So again, just a couple basic things. With sculpture, you necessarily don't have to worry about shading, but when you're drawing, that is something that you do have to worry about. So that would translate into sculpture in terms of like depth of fold, so how deep the folds actually are in the piece. And for drawing, you guys can do that by making stuff darker, right? Making stuff darker, understanding your values better, and adding some highlights to that drapery as well. Again, if you're doing drawing and your focus is drawing, then I want you guys to start out with figuring out how to do it with lines and figuring out the flow and direction of the drapery and cloth with lines first. What you can really do is, first of all, like draw like your bed sheets or something, or like put a towel over a chair and try to figure out how it looks under different lighting situations, and start your drawings from like actual still life examples. Do not look at photo references for these because oftentimes stuff in photos kind of just look different than they do in real life, and you get a much better understanding of the volume and the value within the object in real life than you would in photos. So try to do this with still lifes first. Once you start your drawing, first draw the outline. Figure out the flow of the piece to begin with, and then add your values in. So your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights. Once you have that basically laid out, then contrast, 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 and really divide those values up. So the areas of the image where you make dark, make them way darker, and the areas where you think there is light, make them way lighter. That will really give like a big punch and impact on your image. Now, and that's pretty much it. And then all you have to really do is practice, practice, practice. And then once you figure this out, it really is just gonna make you better. It's gonna make you better at portraits, make you better at everything. Once you figure out just basic drapery, move into clothes next. Try to draw some clothes. If you're a sculptor, try to sculpt figures with some clothes on. And that really is just gonna be the next step for you, because the cloth on clothing really does interact way more than just a cloth sitting there. As you can see, there's a lot of folds here, a lot of folds there, and they all have like an origin point. So the folds here start here and they spread out and move out, and the folds here start right there as well and they spread out and move out. So just notice these little details, and it really is great practice for you to understand your values. So there you go. If you look at a lot of great artists in the past, they all have sketches of this, as well as great sculptors of the past. I mean, there are some Renaissance sculptors where like the person's face is completely covered in like a piece of drapery, or there's that really famous one where it's like a person lying down and they're just covered in like a blanket, and the person had to go in with the marble and with a hammer and chisel and sculpt all those folds out. It's kind of mind-blowing. So practice, practice, practice. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. Have you guys done this before? If you have, are you good at it? Do you suck at it? I know I personally suck, especially drawing it. As you can see, I was trying to do a little thing back there. But like the video, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified every single time I post. And as always, have a great day. Bye.